Very well. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this new webinar of the Global Evaluation Initiatives. Let us know where you're coming from in the chat. We are always eager to hear all the diversity that we have in our audience. Before starting anything, I just want you to remember that today we have interpretation available in many languages. So I would invite you on the bottom of your screen, of the Zoom screen, to look for the globe that says interpretation, and there you can choose a different language if you wish to follow the presentation in another language. We have French, Russian, Portuguese, Spanish, Bengali, Hindi, and Swahili. So thank you very much for this. Also, I would like to remind you of another rule that if you have any questions during the session, please use the Q&A chat and not the general chat, because then for us it's easier to monitor. That said, let me introduce myself. My name is Patrizia Cocca. I am the Communication and Knowledge Management Lead of the Global Evaluation Initiative. I'm based in Brussels. And today I am happy to give you the welcome to this webinar that has been really something that is the completion of a long process, of a long program, but you will hear more about that. I just wanted to remind you that the Global Evaluation Initiative, it's a network, and it is an initiative that started 5 years ago with the objective of strengthening national M&E systems. And so in order to do that, we have done a lot of programs in several countries, but we work as a network with partners that are dispersed a little bit all over the world. And so we work in close connection with the CLEAR centers that are in 6 different countries, covering all the regions. And then we work with ENAP and IPDET, which are training facilities that are delivering high-level training in evaluation. That said, I don't want to take more space. I wish you a great webinar, and I would like to pass the microphone to Claudia Olavarria, who will be your moderator today.
Thank you very much, Patricia, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to our distinguished audience joining us today. My name, as Patricia said, is Claudia Olavarria, and I am a feminist evaluation consultant for the GEI. I had the pleasure of coordinating the Feminist Innovation Small Award for young and emerging evaluators. And this initiative aims to support the development of innovation products to advance monitoring and evaluation practice using feminist evaluation approaches. Today, you will be introduced to the 6 feminist evaluation products developed by these young awardees. And for this, you will first hear from the partners that made this program possible. After, you will hear about the products from the awardees itself. And after that, you will have time to share your questions and your comments and hear from our authors and their opinion on this. So please stay tuned and please remember to share your questions. We have, as Patricia had said, we have interpretation available. Please be reminded that some of the presentations will be in English, so it's better that you turn on your English translation when we hear from our awardees. So this said, please let me welcome Douglas Glandon. He's the acting program manager of the GEI, and he will say hello from the Global Evaluation Initiative. Douglas, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Claudia. Very excited for this webinar. Let me just say a few words about the award for those who may not be that familiar with it. The Feminist Innovation in Monitoring and Evaluation Award for Young and Emerging Evaluators is implemented jointly by the Global Evaluation Initiative and EvalGender Plus, with financial support from Global Affairs Canada. The initiative aims to support innovative projects led by early career evaluators from developing countries, with the goal of advancing feminist approaches in evaluation and strengthening the evidence base for more inclusive, and gender transformative policies across sectors. The awardees were competitively selected from a pool of more than 280 applicants by an expert committee based on their potential to contribute to advancing feminist evaluation practice. 6 awardees from India, Bangladesh, Kyrgyzstan, Tanzania, and Ecuador received seed grants to develop their innovation ideas. So over the past 6 months, they've worked as part of a learning community supported by GEI and EvalGender Plus teams, sharing their progress with a broader audience through webinars, blog posts, workshops, and presentations with partner organizations. So this important phase is now coming to an end, marking the beginning of a new stage. Their feminist innovation products are ready to be shared, piloted, used to advance more gender transformative evaluation practices and stronger M&E systems. So today, we get to hear from these committed and talented young evaluators who will present the products they have developed, from supporting the evaluation of gender policies in Ecuador, relocation programs affecting Indigenous women in Tanzania, to reimagining evaluation as a human-centered collaborative process in Kyrgyzstan, to tools that strengthen feminist evaluation practice in crisis contexts, gender-responsive impact measurement, and a framework that addresses competencies needed for stronger evaluator training. So to take this effort to the next level, we invite you to listen to the FIME awardees, visit the Better Evaluation webpage to learn more about their products, and consider piloting these tools in your own evaluation practice. So I would like to congratulate each of the awardees: Lisette Zambrano, Tayeba Hosne, Rai Singh Gupta, Nima Ninko, Aidai Agosoeva, who is represented here by Jazgul Ibrahimova, and Mahesh Krishnan. So each of you have already made a valuable contribution to advancing feminist evaluation as a driver of better evidence for better policies, and your work going forward will no doubt keep pushing us all to think about how we can improve our practice. For GEI, it's been a rewarding experience to support the work of these young evaluators in alliance with our partners. And Mathieu Audet from Global Affairs Canada and Sonal Zaveri from EvalGender Plus are here today to share their views about this joint effort and the great tools that are now available for the global M&E community to benefit from. Thank you. Back to you, Claudia.
Thank you very much, Doug, for letting us know a little bit more about the project and how it worked. And with this, I want to pass the microphone now to Mathieu Audet, who is the Director of Evaluation at Global Affairs Canada, that has been the financial support, the generous financial support of this project. So Mathieu, please, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Claudia. So bonjour tout le monde. It's really fantastic to be here amongst peers and fellow practitioners. As was mentioned previously, though, we're here to celebrate the 6 winners. I also want to recognize and thank the over 280 applicants who submitted proposals. You are all driving forward the growing field of feminist-based evaluation. As active members in this community, just to give an example, we recently completed an evaluation of Global Affairs Canada's SRHR programming, where we used feminist principles and approaches for our methods, but we also hired local feminist evaluators, such as yourselves, to support the work. When we set out to do feminist-based evaluations almost 10 years ago, we didn't quite know where to start. So we started small, taking inspiration from practitioners such as yourselves through the types of guides and products that you're presenting here today. And we immediately saw the benefits of this approach for our beneficiaries, the partners, the programming, but also for the evaluation function as a whole. These approaches simply produce better and more inclusive insights, shared understanding, better evidence, and we have seen the recommendations that stem from all this guide more effective programs and policies here at Global Affairs. So for these reasons, we're really happy to have partnered with the great people at the Global Evaluation Initiative to create this space for sharing and learning. And with that, I'd like to thank all participants and congrats to the winners for your fantastic work. I look forward to the presentations. So thanks a lot, and back to you, Claudia.
Thank you very much, Mathieu, for sharing the views from Global Affairs Canada. We're super happy to learn how the experience of Global Affairs Canada has shown that feminist evaluation is indeed better evaluation. So thank you very much for that. And with this, I'd like to pass the microphone to Sonal Savory. She's the co-chair of EvalGender Plus, and EvalGender Plus has been a close partner in the implementation of this project. So we would love to hear from you, Sonal. Please, the microphone is yours.
So I just wanted to wish everyone a good morning, afternoon, or evening. And thanks for the introduction. As mentioned, I'm Sonal Zareri, the co-chair of EvalGender Plus. And I'm speaking from India. It's late evening over here. It's really a great pleasure to welcome all of you on behalf of EvalGender Plus to this webinar on advancing gender equality and social justice in monitoring and evaluation, 6 innovative tools. And I'm particularly happy to do so in collaboration with GEI, whose partnership we deeply value. This has been such a meaningful collaboration. We've had a shared commitment. We wanted to strengthen feminist, gender responsive, and socially, just monitoring and evaluation. And we're also very grateful to Global Affairs Canada for their generous support of this initiative. For EvalGender Plus, this collaboration has been very important because it really reflects what we stand for as a global network. Creating spaces for researchers and activists and practitioners, bringing them together for learning and innovation in gender transformative evaluation. We've always also believed that evaluation is not just to measure change, but also to question power and to amplify diverse voices. And we have that with our 6 awardees who are going to be presenting their work today. And as said before, there were almost 300 submissions, and 6 projects were selected from that. So I would like to thank each and every one of the awardees who are going to be presenting our work today. And I'd really like to once again thank GEI as well as Global Affairs Canada for taking this collaboration forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sonal, for always being there, for helping us take this endeavor to this point. And thank you very much, Doug and Mathieu, for sharing all your thoughts today and for your continuous support to this initiative. This project was only possible due to the effort of many evaluators and feminist practitioners. And with this, I want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all of those involved in the FIME steering committee, the expert selection committee, and some of them are here today in our audience. So thank you very much to Elena Bardassi, to Florencia Tateosian, Silvia Grandi, Florence Eta, Donna Podems, and many others. This wouldn't be possible without your support, so thank you for that. Now we will hear from the authors, the young evaluators that have developed these feminist innovation products. So please remember that while listening to them, you can share your questions using the Q&A section of the platform. Panelists can address them directly in the platform, and we will cover some of these questions after the 6 presentations end. So with this, let me introduce you to Lisette Zambrano from Quito, Ecuador. Lisette holds a degree in statistical engineer and in statistical engineering and a master degree in big data analysis and visualization. She specializes in diagnostics, indicator designs, logical frameworks, and theory of change, integrating quantitative and qualitative methodologies for the analysis of evidence and results. She currently works as a data analysis specialist at the Data Lat Foundation. So Lisette has developed a toolkit to evaluate and strengthen gender policies, and she will let us know a bit more about this product. Lisette will deliver her presentation in Spanish, so please take a time to activate your translation so you can hear to all that she's saying. Lisette, you have 5 minutes, remember, and the microphone is yours.
Listo. Buenos días con todos, todas y todes, tardes, noches en donde se encuentren. Un gusto saludarlos y gracias por la presentación. Eh, Voy a presentar la caja de herramientas y manual de capacitación para equipos de evaluadores. Es un producto desarrollado dentro del marco del proyecto Midiendo el Cambio, herramientas para evaluar y fortalecer las políticas de género de una perspectiva feminista. Eh, Esta iniciativa como tal nació de un proyecto para evaluar y sobre todo ver este cambio o cómo se podría medir lo que son las políticas dentro de instituciones y demás organismos que puedan ejecutar como tal políticas con perspectiva de género. ¿Qué está pasando actualmente? Se mide, pero no necesariamente se transforma. ¿Qué quiere decir esto? Que muchas evaluaciones de políticas de género son muy técnicas, pero no logran capturar realmente los cambios en la vida de las personas. Es decir, hay una brecha entre medir y entender el cambio, especialmente cuando incorporamos enfoques feministas e interseccionales. Es decir, evaluamos, pero no siempre entendemos cuál es el cambio significativo o representativo. Hay enfoques técnicos poco sensibles a desigualdades, es decir, que no visibilizan todas las poblaciones como tal. Falta de herramientas prácticas e interseccionales, que éstas no son adaptables a los diferentes contextos como tal. ¿Cómo cerramos esta brecha? Este producto nace directamente de la experiencia conjunta con expertos y trabajando en monitoreo y evaluación, donde se identificó una brecha clara entre lo técnico y lo transformador. Muchas herramientas existen, pero no necesariamente ayudan a analizar las desigualdades de manera profunda. Para desarrollar esta necesidad, se presenta y se elabora esta caja de herramientas que consta del manual de capacitación para los equipos evaluadores. En este manual está específicamente una guía metodológica para que se pueda evaluar estas planes de acciones, políticas de género desde esta perspectiva no solo feminista, sino también interseccional. Y dentro de esta caja de herramientas como tal, hay también cómo se podría construir indicadores que tengan esta función y que tengan el enfoque feminista e interseccional. Todo en su conjunto es una caja práctica pensando en hacer uso en diferentes contextos. ¿A quién impacta o a quién beneficia esta herramienta? Principalmente tenemos equipos técnicos de evaluación, instituciones públicas, pero nos preguntamos, ¿para qué? Justamente es para poder evaluar políticas de género, diseñar indicadores inclusivos y sobre todo fortalecer los procesos de seguimiento, impactando no solo directamente a estos equipos, sino indirectamente también a poblaciones o a políticas que sean más justas para mujeres, diversidades y otras poblaciones que han sido históricamente invisibilizados. ¿Esta herramienta o esta caja de herramientas se puede replicar? La respuesta es sí. Una herramienta pensada en replicarse y no quedarse solo en un proyecto. Es decir, que es adaptable a diferentes contextos, aplicable a diferentes instituciones, es decir, que no solo vamos a presentarlo como en instituciones públicas, sino adaptado a academia, sociedad civil e incluso sector privado. Incluye plantillas para ejercicios prácticos. Y de esta manera, recordemos que la evaluación también se puede transformar. Es decir, no solo medir, sino nosotros crear política desde una visión evaluativa y que sea monitoreada no solo en el presente, sino a largo plazo. De esta manera termino mi presentación con esta caja de herramientas y el manual para equipos de evaluadores Y aprovecho este espacio para agradecer al programa de Innovación Feminista en Monitoreo y Evaluación que me brindó esta oportunidad, tanto a mí como a mis colegas, que presentarán sus increíbles herramientas para poder plasmar una iniciativa en algo realidad, en algo que es real como tal. Asimismo, agradezco a Fundación Datalab y al gran equipo que me acompañó por detrás, a Nicolás Escobar, Jamie Jatipa, Julio López y Alexandra Caisilitín, para poder llevar a cabo la validación con el equipo de la Subsecretaría de Diversidades aquí en el Ecuador. Es decir, la herramienta no solo fue plasmada en escritorio, sino también tuvo una validación con expertos y con un sector público que pudo verificar la validez de esta herramienta. Muchas gracias, Claudia, y doy paso a mis colegas. Gracias.
Many thanks, Lisette, for sharing your product. I am sure it would help institutional teams to better understand what difference are gender policies making or not making in the life of people, especially, as you said, those that were left behind. Now, we invite you to travel all the way from Ecuador to Bangladesh. So let me introduce you to Tayeba Hosni Israt. Tayeba is a feminist evaluation practitioner and led monitoring, evaluation, and learning at Women's Funds Asia with deep experience in gender equity, gender-based violence, market systems development, and impact investment across South and Southeast Asia. Tayeba is a Chevening scholar and an Oxford alumna, and she developed the Phoenix metric, which is the gender social return on investment framework, to address a gap that she encountered repeatedly in the field. The outcomes that women name as transformative are invisible to the tools we have today. So with this, Tayeba, I am passing the microphone to you. Please remember you have 5 minutes to deliver your presentation.
Thank you so much. First of all, I would like to start by thanking GEI, Global Affairs Canada, and EvalGender Plus for this space. Before going to the toolkit, I want to start with something that happened to me in the field and that has actually motivated me sitting here today and talking about this metric. So I was reviewing the evaluation framework of a women's livelihood program. And while doing so, the number looked good, income had increased, the intervention scored well. But when I sat with the women themselves, what they described as change was almost entirely absent from what we had measured. They talked about speaking in household decisions for the first time as a result of their income increase. There were also situations when women talked about feeling safer walking to the market, about the weight of care work that had grown heavier, not lighter, since they started earning, about a solidarity with other women in their group. A belonging, they said, had changed them in ways they could not put a price on. And none of these outcomes were reflected in the data I was collecting and analyzing. So what happened next, I tried to analyze the framework I was using, and I realized that standard frameworks, including social return on investment, were built to serve investor accountability. They measure what markets can price. I kept encountering this gap across my work in South and Southeast Asia, in livelihood, in GVB programming, in impact investment. As someone who has spent so far in her career trying to make gender transformative change legible to funders and policymakers, I found myself repeatedly unable to show with the tools available what women themselves said mattered most. And that was when I came up with this idea of this metric, what I'm calling today the Phoenix metric. So now, what is GSROI, or Gender Social Return on Investment? The GSROI is a feminist economic evaluation methodology. I named it the Phoenix metrics because I thought it's built around what rises when market-based valuation fails women, that is recognition, redistribution, and relational justice. So how does this metric look like? It was built to capture the domains women consistently identify as meaningful change, but that standard M&E rarely records. For example, who decides and who controls resources, not just income, but the power to control it, freedom from violence, fear, and constraint, unpaid care work, measured, not assumed elastic, then peer solidarity, trust, and collective belonging. Also, the ripple effect that reached the next generation, that is, norm shapes children's aspiration, a daughter who sees something different and internalizes a different future for herself that's very different from the abuse that many times she grew up seeing. GSRI measures this through structured indices and a narrative valuation scale that assigns quantifiable weight to outcomes that resist market proxies entirely. The result is something funders and policymakers can use without asking feminist evaluation to make itself smaller. Now, the very important question, what do we do with this toolkit? Who is it for? It's for evaluators, program managers, gender lens investors, policymakers, anyone working in a context where gender equality is an explicit objective. It sits alongside our existing M&E system, not replacing it. And communities are not just data sources in this methodology. They are co-producers, story circles, participatory proxy development, and member shaking are built in from the very start to make it a very participatory approach. So finally, the full framework will be available very soon on Better Evaluation. I really invite you all to explore it, pilot it in your context, because we all know toolkits act differently in different contexts. I would like to hear from around the world how this toolkit can be adapted further and how it can really help us measuring what remains unmeasured in a better way in the coming days. Let us all together make sure that what matters to women gets measured. Thank you so much.
Many thanks, dear Tayeba, and congratulations on the development of such a relevant tool. I think your presentation and your tool speaks directly to all of us that struggle to translate what is important for women to current metrics. So I'm looking forward to see how our community will use it in the future. And with this, now I will invite you to go to India and introduce you to Rising Gupta. Rising Gupta is a feminist evaluator based in New Delhi, India, and currently she works with the UNICEF Evaluation Office. She holds a Master in Policy Evaluation from Oxford University and has over 6 years of experience working with governments and multilaterals, including the Asian Development Bank and Invest India. Rai brings her expertise in evaluations focused on gender, women and child development, and family violence, and has trained over 7,000 participants globally through workshops on policy evaluation. Dear Rai, the floor is yours. Please remember you have 5 minutes to deliver your presentation.
Thank you so much, Claudia, and thank you everybody for joining. It's a pleasure to be part of this presentation and to finally share our products with the rest of the world. Without much ado, I'm going to get into the presentation straight off. I hope everybody is able to see my screen. Claudia has done a very kind job of introducing me, but I just like to also mention some of the influences that sort of have inspired me to do the work I do. So as she mentioned, I am a feminist evaluator. I'm based in New Delhi, India, and I'm raised in a family of strong women who have really shaped the way that I look at my work, I look at evaluation, and I look at the ways in which my work can perhaps influence women and child development across the world. So that's just a little bit about me and where I come from in my part of the world. The project that I worked on for the last 6 to 8 months speaks directly from that experience of working in evaluation, of working to foster women and child development, and understanding what gets missed out when you're evaluating programs, particularly in crisis contexts. So the focus of my project is feminist evaluation in a crisis setting. And let me tell you a little bit about what kind of inspired this project. So gender shapes how people experience and recover from emergencies. And women and children, of course, face heightened risks. Women and girls face heightened risks during an emergency setting, risk of exploitation, risk of violence, loss of livelihoods, and so on. And therefore, when there is an evaluation conducted during a crisis, it is vital to include the voices of women, girls, and other marginalized groups. This is key for capturing the reality in an emergency setting and for improving the crisis response. But it's not always easy to do that because evaluations in crisis tend to focus on short-term outputs like meals distributed, shelters built, cash distributed, so on. And even when women are reached in evaluations during crisis, their voice is often limited by safety concerns, by fear of reprisal, inflexible data collection methods, and so on. And as a result, evaluations risk reinforcing some of the structural exclusion and epistemic inequities that it probably does not want to do in the first place. So in this broader context, feminist evaluation brings a fundamentally different lens. Feminist evaluation, as we all know, centers marginalized perspectives, challenges hierarchies, and redefines what counts as evidence. And one might think that, okay, if feminist evaluation clearly provides many of the answers to what we're looking for, why isn't it more broadly used in a crisis context? Well, there is limited consolidated knowledge on feminist evaluation practices in crisis settings, and that hampers their wider and systematic use. So in this context, my project to address this gap produced two products. The first is a synthesis of feminist evaluation practices in crisis contexts. The second is a feminist evaluation toolkit for crisis settings. Product 1, a synthesis of feminist evaluation innovations. This is a global evidence synthesis of 17 evaluations conducted between 2019 to 2024, commissioned by UN agencies and INGOs, which examines how feminist evaluation approaches have been applied in crisis settings. And it addresses a very crucial gap because while feminist evaluation is increasingly discussed, there is little systematic analysis on how it is actually practiced in a crisis setting. Why is this product innovative? Well, this is one of the first attempts to systematically map feminist evaluation practices in a crisis setting. And once you open the synthesis, you will see that it contains a 4-part typology of feminist evaluation innovations in crisis settings, spanning design, methods, analytical innovations, and ethics as well. It also includes cross-cutting lessons and insights across various regions and crisis types. That's the first product. What's the second product? The second product is a feminist evaluation toolkit. It's a one-stop resource for applying feminist evaluation in crisis settings. It's a practical toolkit for applying feminist evaluation in crisis settings, translating evidence and lessons from real evaluations into concrete guidance for practitioners. And what is the gap it addresses? Well, evaluators often want to apply these methods, but the existing guidance is fragmented and not tailored enough for crisis contexts. What makes the feminist evaluation toolkit innovative, you might ask? So it is evidence-based. The synthesis, which is product 1, directly influences the toolkit's design and its properties. It is practitioner-informed. It has been not designed just by me, but with multilateral organizations, women's rights organizations, and feminist evaluators across the world. It is accessible and practical. It adapts existing knowledge and existing guidance into a single, easy-to-use toolkit. And it is organized across 6 sections, which follows the basic cadence of an evaluation cycle, from planning to design, from methods to analysis, from ethics to dissemination. So you have all of it in a single resource. Each of the 6 sections contains overall guidance, practical tools. It contains case studies and lessons, as well as adaptable templates, which you can use right from the get-go. These products, I have been very fortunate to present these to 4 institutions globally to gather feedback on usability and uptake. That includes the UNICEF Evaluation Office in New York, UN Women in New York, the World Bank in Washington, D.C., and the Asian Development Bank in Manila. And it was a privilege to discuss these 2 products and to refine them with the inputs received by these experts. Who are the products meant for? The users include multilateral organizations, governments, and donor agencies, academics, researchers, and evaluation practitioners, national and local evaluation teams, as well as evaluation networks and professional bodies. So if you're part of any or many of these user categories, these 2 products will definitely apply to you. The synthesis will help you understand emerging evaluation innovations in crisis settings and help you design better evaluations in the future. The toolkit will help you design evaluations in the current crisis context, apply really innovative tools, and support training and capacity building for evaluators. So I end by inviting you all, please help advance feminist evaluation in crisis settings, explore the synthesis, explore the toolkit, adapt it to your context, to your program or region. Please help build capacity, train teams, embed feminist evaluation, and above all, please share feedback on what works, what does not. I would love to hear from you. Please stay in touch. And thank you so much for listening. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Claudia. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Rai, for developing and sharing such a relevant and timely resource. Today's world urgently needs stronger evidence that captures the voices of women and girls and hopefully contributes to a more peaceful world. I am sure I will be using this tool in my own future evaluations, and I will let you know how does it work. So I hope other colleagues do that too. Now we invite you to travel all the way to Tanzania, and for that, let me introduce you to Nima Nenko. Nima is a trainer, a researcher, and an evaluation consultant from the United Republic of Tanzania. She currently works at the Institute of Rural Development Planning and as a trainer in agricultural and rural development planning, particularly project planning. Nima has developed a toolkit to implement feminist evaluation processes in relocation efforts based on her experience working with the Maasai women. So Nima, please let us know more about this. The microphone is yours, and please remember you have 5 minutes to deliver your presentation.
My name is Nema Nko from United Republic of Tanzania, and among the 60 female awardees. And I'm here to present the Feminist Participatory Monitoring and Evaluation Toolkit for Relocation Settings. The first issue this toolkit responds to is an evaluation gaps. In many relocation settings, monitoring and evaluation tends to focus on visible outputs such as houses, land allocations, service access, or compensation. And these are important, but they do not tell us enough about what relocation means for women in everyday life. So what is often missed is whether women are informed, whether they feel safe, whether they can influence decisions, and whether they can actually control the resources that are said to benefit them. So the purpose of this toolkit, this feminist participatory evaluation toolkit, is designed to guide evaluators, to guide governments, to guide researchers, policymakers, and civil society organizations in applying feminist principles and methods within relocation and displacement settings. And this toolkit was developed from actual steps I followed while evaluating Maasai women relocation experience in Tanzania. It is also designed as a practical guide for evaluators and practitioners who need more gender-responsive, grounded approach to assess relocation processes. What makes it innovative? This toolkit is grounded in the field realities, live experiences, and the practical evaluation challenges. It is also responding to gap I observed in conventional relocation and displacement evaluation during my master's degree dissertation, where I assessed the effects of relocation on household livelihood of relocated Maasai. Another issue which makes it so innovative, it translates field lesson into step-by-step feminist evaluation guide. Also, it is designed to improve how evaluators can capture women's voice, surface, agents, and influence. Key toolkit stages. This toolkit is organized into 6 sections or into 6 stages, which are planning of evaluation, designing of evaluation, data collection, data analysis, SQL and step guide, as well as dissemination and use of the findings. Each section guides the user through a distinct stage of conducting a feminist evaluation. You can see all the stages: planning, designing, up to dissemination, and the use of the finding. Who is the intended user? The toolkit is intended for a wide range of users. It can help to support evaluators, it can help NGOs, it can support civil society organizations, it can support government actor who is involving in relocation, it can also support women's rights practitioners, it can also support researcher and the student. Its purpose is to help the user to conduct evaluation that only asks what was delivered, but also ask who benefited, who excluded, and who decided and what changed in women's lives. So what makes this toolkit useful? It is a practical-oriented toolkit, not overly theoretical, and it translates feminist principles into practical steps. And it is field-tested logic and tools, and also it center women lived experience in the center of evaluation. So this toolkit will be shared in Beta Evaluation website, but I would like to end by inviting all of you to review it, to adapt it to your own setting, and use it in a future evaluation of relocation and displacement setting. I hope that it can contribute to more accountable, more inclusive, and feminist evaluation principles. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Nima, for sharing. I am super glad that the voices of of indigenous women and girls are part of this effort, of this feminist evaluation effort. And thank you very much for bringing their voice into this space. And now we are going to travel to Kyrgyzstan, all the way from Tanzania to Kyrgyzstan, with Aidai Algosoeva and Jasgul Ibrahimova. Aidai Algosoeva is a development manager and researcher with more than 10 years of experience in Kyrgyzstan policy sector. Aidai's work focuses on civic engagement and historical memory, and she specializes in organizational processes and strategic communication grounded in decolonial and feminist optics to foster ethical and inclusive social impact. Aidai is the FIME awardee and the author of these tools, and she's currently in maternity leave welcoming her newborn. So she will be represented by Jasgul Ibrahimova on this space. Jasgul Ibrahimova is a researcher and monitoring, evaluation, and learning consultant specializing in media development and social impact within Central Asia. She's an instructor in the American University of Central Asia, where she teaches research methodology and visual studies. Her work focuses on evidence-based learning and institutional evaluation, and bridging academic rigor with practical experience to foster regional growth. And Jasgul is the co-author of this tool. So Jasgul will introduce us today to an adaptive toolkit developed to rethink monitoring and evaluation from and for civil society organizations in Kyrgyzstan and abroad. Dear Jasgul, many thanks for being here with us today. The floor is yours, and please remember you have 5 minutes to deliver your presentation.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Greetings to all from Bishkek, Central Asia. Thank you very much for joining our webinar and sharing this event with us together. This means a lot for us. To start with, I wanted to thank all the partners, Gender Evaluation, JE, EvalGender Plus, Global Affairs Canada, who made this award program is possible. Also, I wanted to note that our product is the result of a wonderful collaboration built on generous input and real-world experiences of our local organizations, Kyrgyzstani organizations, and local communities. So this is collective work from our civil society space. And also I want to give a special thanks to my colleague Aidai, the lead author of this toolkit, who whose hard work was central in creating this work. So let's move from national and big international organization systems to civil society spaces and local communities, and give a look to our toolkit, to our starter kit, if I may say. Our toolkit is guided, first of all, by human rights principles, decolonial thinking, and feminist decentered perspectives, as our authors' backgrounds is grounded in decolonial and feminist optics to foster ethical and inclusive social impact. To design it, we created a persona, a character, whose name is Ajar. Please meet Ajar. And Ajar will help to navigate the tool, and she consolidates the experiences of many women who participated in our interviews and who expressed, shared their experiences. So following her journey, we learned how to make our project plan more flexible and as a living organism that responds to the real needs of women and girls in the ground, in the communities. Ajar is also our target user, who is a professional who balances traditional values and that in the one time, like, have the social ambitions to make life for women and girls better. So we tried to shift the paradigm and move away from focusing on a deficit toward identifying our local strengths that could be used in social projects. So success is not longer something that is come from top to down, but evolving with the community and developed with the community. Toolkits have a project cycle. This is an adaptive cycle. It has 5 steps, which can be revisited at any stage. So it never have the starting point and ending point. It's cyclical, as you can observe, and each step follows or each step combines a guide of practical tools, exercises, and Ajar's lesson. So to show the case studies on which our instruments or our kits for exercises are based. So for example, to have a quick look to what looks like all those exercises. It's like the other question, one of the exercises we developed based on our decolonial background. So trying to ask the other question rather than following those on top of the iceberg, or writing some kind of letter for future, or using the automatic writing, and so on and so forth. I'm not gonna to dive into each tool, but you can find it in the in our toolkit, all the guidance how to use it in your communities. How to use the toolkit. So we see this in 3 different points of view. So first, you can each person can use it independently. So we use all the frameworks alone to structure our thoughts, to try to evaluate our own biases. Secondly, it could be with peers, like inviting like-minded practitioners for tea or coffee and gain some kind of outside perspective while making the exercises. And the third method is with the team. So use the exercises collaboratively with the team, who includes actually beneficiaries and local communities. this toolkit was developed first of all from program teams who often lacks the monitoring and evaluation specialists or consultants, so they can try implement the monitoring and evaluation by themselves. And of course, it's for monitoring and evaluation specialists to go out from the established frameworks and to use something as something other, like following the other question. And of course, for local activists, for all those who are working in Central Asia or similar contexts. As I've said before, it can be used at the project design stage and throughout the implementation, as we call it, monitoring is ongoing process. And it could be integrated into the evaluation process using those qualitative insights from exercises to our evaluation methodology. And to finalize my words, so this project become for us some kind of way to look at projects differently through some kind of decentered and, first of all, decolonial and feminist perspectives. So all the exercises, all the tools that we are representing in our toolkit is very simple and can be used like in any communities. And it first of all represented from the key points, like by the experience and the reality of local women and girls. Yeah, this is like all from my side. You can download the manual for using this QR code, or maybe using the link on the chat box. And we will be glad to get any feedback, comments, and your experience of adapting our toolkit by email. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jasgul, for sharing this useful resource. And I'm sure this resource will help to bring M&E thinking and M&E practicing closer to non-evaluators in Kyrgyzstan and abroad, and therefore is extremely relevant for the work we do to advance evidence-based policies and evidence-based interventions across sectors. So thank you again very much. And now for last presentation, I will invite you to travel back to India to meet Mahesh. Mahesh Krishnan Ramesh is a policy professional specializing in gender-responsive evaluation and applied semiotics. Mahesh research develops the Holistic Transformative Evaluator Framework. It's a pioneering 5-lens competency model designed specifically for gender-responsive evaluation for transformation. The framework functions both as a diagnostic benchmarking tool and as a pedagogical blueprint to strengthen and redesign evaluator training systems across the Asia-Pacific. As we hear from Mahesh, please remember to share your questions in the Q&A, as we will address some of this after the presentation. Dear Mahesh, the floor is yours, and please remember you have 5 minutes to deliver your presentation.
Hi, everyone. So first of all, I thank for this wonderful opportunity, and I'm really honored to have the opportunity to speak in front of all of you. So I'm Mahesh Krishnan. I'm currently working as a Program Associate Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning with Catalyst Management Services in India. I am also an alumni of the National Law School of India University, and I have been working as a political strategist where I specialized in applied semiotics and narrative analysis. So this project, it focuses on the pedagogical side of evaluation. That is, it looks at the training programs of for gender, like evaluation in the context of gender, and the competencies and capacity development that needs to take place in this space. So for this research, I have done a landscape analysis of existing training programs, evaluated training programs focused on the Asia Pacific region. And one of the gaps that was identified, I would like to call it as the articulation gap. So under the articulation gap, the gaps can be broadly classified into two. One is the cognitive and the structural gap. The cognitive gap talks about the different types of cognitive types and the biases that exist among them. For example, like focus on quantitative skills or the cognitive way of thinking where things are more extractive, that has several research pointed that has a bias, like that has got a gender bias. So how can evaluator competencies cover these different cognitive types? And the other one is the focus on text-based data gathering, and the categorization of different gender diverse realities. And the structural gap talks about the existing methodologies and its focus on logocentrism and Western positivism. So another gap that was identified was the heavy reliance on technical compliance in evaluator training program rather than phronesis or adaptive wisdom like reflexivity, facilitation skills, and so on. So this was a gap analysis that was conducted, and as you can see, there is a heavy focus on methodological competencies and lesser focus on the inner or the cognitive pluralism side of things. So here is a here is the holistic evaluative framework that was developed. So these five broad competency areas are: one is political, and it looks at the formal and informal institution, the political structures, and whether it talks about competencies that enable an evaluator to look at gender transformation. And the next one is social. It looks at the social intelligence of the evaluator, whether the evaluator is able to facilitate a knowledge rather than having an extractive point of view. The third one is contextual. It looks at the localization and decolonization. It looks at the local epistemologies and different ways of knowing. The next one is methodological complexity. As the world is evolving and post-normal environments and polycrisis is going on, does the training programs cover competencies for like adaptive methodologies? And the next one is the inner competencies, which looks at cognitive pluralism and tacit knowledge and or phronesis in general. So based on this, based on the five competencies, a pedagogical framework has been developed, and which used different innovative pedagogical methods. Like for example, for political, having meta concept workshops, and for contextual competencies, unlearning sessions and co-design modules. And then for developing the inner intuition, art-based semiotic probes, and for methodological complexity, having simulations to simulate different scenarios. And for social and relational ethics, field accompaniment and ethical role play. So some of them have been prototyped as part of the research. So the target users include evaluation capacity building networks, curriculum designers, and international development agencies in the Asia Pacific focusing on curriculum development. And the product has a dual purpose. One is to act as a diagnostic benchmarking tool to audit existing courses. And the next one is a pedagogical blueprint to design a new transformative curricula. And the ultimate goal is to elevate the evaluative practice from extractive data collection to culturally grounded and transformative facilitation. So that is the product, and I invite all of you to explore the product further in the PETA evaluation platform.
Thank you very much, Mahesh, for presenting your product. And thank you for developing this framework that allows us all to look at our own set of competencies and our career development expectations for the future. I think it's a very useful tool, as well as for those working in evaluation capacity development, to think about how a feminist evaluation, or how this holistic transformative evaluation framework could be implemented. And thank you very much to Lisette, to Tayeba, Rai, Nima, Jaswul for their committed work to advance the use of feminist evaluations. Through your different tools and reflections that are deeply rooted in your lived experience and your professional expertise, you are inspiring us all and inviting us to rethink about our own evaluation practice and to make extra efforts for it to ensure it contributes to stronger evidence as one that contributes to more inclusive and gender transformative policies. Now, we will be answering a few questions from the audience, and the authors are welcome to answer the questions that you want using the Q&A section, and Patricia and I will call on you to answer some of the questions that were raised in this section. After this, each one of you is going to have time to share your closing remarks. So, for this, Patricia, I'm going to ask for your support, please.
Yes. So we have received a few questions online. So I will start in order of how I have received them. And so there was one from Eileen. I'm not even trying to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry, but it was basically about how do we make sure we are grounding everything in core principles instead of letting the tools become the main focus. I liked the question. I think it's a good question. I wanted to see who wanted to start.
Patricia?
Yes.
May I add something before our authors
Of course.
decide whether they're going to take this difficult one from Eileen? Thank you very much for the question, Eileen. It is important to know that we're showing you now the tool, that the tool is available for you to adapt and use. But as Eileen says, it's very important that these tools relate to feminist principles and to a political position that's very characteristic of feminist evaluation practitioners, one towards transformation and towards gender equality and social justice. So I am taking the microphone just to say that this has been a 1-year process in which we've been working in analyzing these principles and operationalizing them into this tool. So there is the debate and there is the foundation, the conceptual foundation and the feminist principle foundation in each one of the products. And this said, I just opened the microphone for, I don't know if Rai, Jaswul, Nima, or any of our practitioners want to open the mic.
I can come in quickly, Claudia. That's an excellent question. Thank you, Eileen, for that. I think when we all collectively were developing the resources for a wider community, it always was at the back of our mind whether we were actually translating feminist principles into tools and templates and things that you can actually download off the computer. And one of the things that really helped me when I was developing my own toolkit was being reflexive, being actually very, very cognizant of what my positionality is, what my privilege is, where I come from, and what biases that may introduce into the product. So I guess one way of sort of addressing the challenge that you mentioned, how do we retain the core principles while adapting to different contexts, is to reserve some time for that reflexivity exercise, and to kind of really think about whether we're actually take a step back a few minutes a day and just to think whether we're actually being feminist in our approach and transformative in our approach. And my toolkit actually has a reflexivity checklist that you can use as well. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Would anybody else would like to add to what Raj say? Otherwise, I will move on to the next question. Okay. We had a question that maybe I can try to answer, and then Claudia, you feel free to add. There is one that says, are more in-depth presentation planned with authors to go through the tools in details? And the same person, Lucia Solda, she's asking, there is any way to provide feedback on tools once they've been piloted, used, or within EvalGender Plus? So we are very willing to support further dissemination of these tools. So from the GEI point of view, if there is demand, we definitely will be welcoming our awardees back to present their tools in more detail. So let's have a further conversation on that, but we definitely are open to do that. And as for feedback, we have posted now, and Rosetti, our colleague, has shared the link with you in the chat. All the toolkits are available on Better Evaluation. If you become part of our community, you are also able to provide comments on the pages where you see them. We can actually even start a dedicated channel for that. That would be something that maybe we can think of, Claudia, and then let this community and this audience know when it's ready. But I don't want to be the only one. And Sonal, Claudia, would you like to add anything?
I'll go just to add something, is that, as Patricia said, the feedback that we receive from you, the authors receive from you, is a very important part of this project. The idea is that authors can adapt and the products, and we can all learn together from hopefully several piloting experiences. So please look at them, be in contact with them. You can contact them through the Better Evaluation webpage. Some of them have shared their emails, and we will be super happy to hear from you, from your experience. Other than that, Global Evaluation Week is coming. It will happen from June 1st to June 5th, and there will be opportunities to go deeper into these products and to learn more about them at that space. And other than that, just to build on what Patricia said, we do want to provide further spaces if those are needed and you think it would be a good space. So please count on that, and we will be communicating, so stay tuned.
There was another question regarding project from Tekler Bran. Project and organizations are moving towards system-oriented male approach. Thus, how can these feminist evaluation toolkits be integrated in these new initiatives, as resources for evaluation are shrinking and as a result of the ongoing funding landscape?
Patricia, I think Just Schools project is a very good example of how M&E can still be implemented in different spaces by different actors, even within the shrinking space. I don't know, Just School, if you want to address this.
Yeah, I wanted to go with that question. Thank you very much for the question. Actually, our toolkit's first aim, if I may say, is to address this question, particularly because while we were interviewing our local community leaders, who were all female leaders, actually, they were expressing their desire to have some toolkits to teach their team, to train their teams in monitoring and evaluation. And since all the existing tools are like either very complicated and hard to be implemented for within their teams. So simply some kind of simplification and gamification of the tools with the focus of those whose voices often unheard actually. We found it a very important point of our toolkit. So we adapted it as much as it could be self-guided toolkit. So everything is there. You just have to take a time and try to reflect and use those tools. And we hope that our local organizations will find it useful. Actually, a bit short note that close to summer, when I will have a chance to go out and so on, we are gonna to pilot it with our local partners. So, and definitely we'll share in some format of blog, maybe how our piloting goes, and maybe in the future we will be glad to share some trainings, specific trainings, or have a coffee, online tea with you, all who wants to share like details and to discuss our exercises. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Yazgul. I have another questions. Somebody wrote, I work in rapid humanitarian responses where projects are implemented within very tight timelines, sometimes 30 to 60 days. The main focus is immediate relief. In this situation, do you think feminist evaluation can be applied realistically? Specifically, how can we include power-sensitive approaches without putting too much pressure on already time-constrained operations, or evaluating programs against goals they were not meant to meet?
I believe that question is for Rhino.
Yeah, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. Absolutely, in any humanitarian context, time is constrained, resources are constrained, and the focus is on immediate relief. But as we see in the last many decades, humanitarian sort of challenges are no longer short-lived. They are continuous. They are ongoing for decades. So at that point, it is no longer just about short-term relief, but about understanding the new realities and the new power dynamics that exist in prolonged crisis conditions as well. Wars go on for generations. Earthquakes can create a sort of impacts that go on for generations as well. So, of course, immediate relief is important, and it is important to measure that, but it is also important to understand the larger gendered consequences of those crisis contexts as well. That's one. Second is that if there is less time, if there is less resources, my toolkit provides guidance, tools, and templates that you can apply in any one or more stages of the evaluation process. So let's say you have more time in your design stage, you can apply something to design. Let's say you have less time in data collection, then you can, choose to not apply it directly in that context. The idea is to utilize feminist evaluation in as many phases and in as many ways as possible in a modular fashion. And that's why the toolkit provides it across 6 different chapters rather than prescribing it as something to be applied en masse. So yeah, please feel free to apply the toolkit guidance in context that you feel is most right, particularly in the crisis that you're dealing with is most right, because the idea is to make it adaptable to your context and to your crisis rather than to make it a prescription. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rai. Thank you very much, Patricia, for helping us with the questions. I know there are further questions and the debate is going to keep going, hopefully in the Better Evaluation webpage and also in the Global Evaluation Week. But I wanted to use this time that we have left to ask each one of you, authors and panelists, what is the main takeaway you are bringing home from this sharing space? It's been a very inspiring session. There's lots to think about, and within this, I would love to hear this main takeaway. I don't know if Sonal, you would like to start. You've been long involved in this project, and we are very interested in what is the main idea that you're taking back home.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to once again thank all the presenters and everyone who has joined us today. And I think our young evaluators have unpacked very important concepts. Perhaps, if I may synthesize it, it's about what makes an evaluation feminist or gender transformative. And the 6 presentations have shown us the richness, the creativity, and the relevance of feminist innovation in monitoring and evaluation. And yet, they all share a common thread. Each one is reminding us that monitoring and evaluation can be more grounded in lived realities, more attentive to power and exclusion, and more responsive to the pursuit of gender equality and social justice. All of them are practical and ready to use. So I'd like to congratulate each of the 6 evaluators. I have witnessed your journey. I have mentored some of you, and I'm really eager that your innovative products will be used, adapted to context, and make a difference in our transformative agenda. Once again, my congratulations to the 6 presenters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonal, for sharing your wisdom and again for supporting all along this process. So, Mathieu, would you like to please share your main takeaway after listening to all the innovative projects that these young evaluators have developed?
Yeah, my main takeaway would be how both these tools are providing. I wouldn't call it generic, but I feel that they're going specific to a point where, like I said, when we were embarking on this space, whether it be in conflict-specific settings or for specific subgroups of indigenous cultures and so on, we were kind of left to our own devices at that time. So I'm really seeing this refinement in feminist-based evaluation practices through the emergence of these types of toolkits as a real asset for the community going forward. So I'm very happy to see that level of specificity kind of emerging. And obviously things change when you hit the ground and you're doing data collection, but that's our job to adapt to that. But I think we're going to be better equipped to do so with the types of products that we've seen today.
I am very glad to hear, Mathieu. Many thanks for sharing. Lisette, would you like to share your main key takeaway?
Claro, Claudia. Bueno, el evaluar, monitorear y aprender dentro de estos procesos no es que solo tengamos que recopilar información o medir resultados como tal, sino es justamente poner en el marco y visibilizar a las diferentes poblaciones, en este caso de perspectiva feminista, interseccional, y no dejarlos de lado en los diferentes contextos. Y desde la visión de la creación de políticas públicas es justamente que en países en vías de desarrollo muchas veces se desmarca o no se considera estos diferentes contextos. Tener estas herramientas que permiten ser adaptadas, no solo como la que presenté, sino como las de mis colegas, es una manera de tener sentado o poner ese granito de arena que surja y que pueda ser replicable en diferentes países, diferentes contextos y que sigan evolucionando. Tenemos siempre que retroalimentar, mejorar y de esa manera poder mejorar las políticas también de género con diferentes perspectivas. Gracias, Claudia.
Many thanks for your reflections. And I would like to call on Tayeba now. Tayeba, if you can please share with us, what are you taking home after this experience of sharing your work and listening to our colleagues' work?
Thank you so much, Claudia. Looking at what my colleagues have shared today, I'm actually struck by how much we are working on the same problem, but from very different angles. So at first, I would like to congrats and thanks to all my fellow awardees for their amazing work. I think these tools belong in conversation with each other, and I hope that this conversation continues well beyond today. We keep on engaging with each other work and see how we can engage and support each other. So that's one of my key takeaways. And I think to conclude this with, I want to repeat what Claudia said in one of our earlier meetings, that when we started working on these toolkits last year around March, we were in a very different world. And today, when we are sitting here today and sharing our final output, the world is very different around us. And I think today the world needs such kind of toolkits more than ever. So I'm really grateful to GEI, Global Affairs Canada, and EvalGender Plus for creating this space when it was needed the most. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tayeba, for sharing, and I couldn't agree more. And thanks also for bringing that reflection to this space. I would like to call on Nima now. Nima, could you please share with us what's your key takeaway from this space?
Okay, one key takeaway from this evaluation is when women are given space to speak openly on their own language, they can share a detailed account on their challenges, priorities, and perspectives. So by using this feminist participatory monitoring and evaluation, help to reveal what worked well and what did not work. So it offer the feminist evaluation offer a clear picture of the true impact of relocation. So this approach ensures women's voices, which are often invisible in conventional evaluation, are centered and valued. So this is the key takeaway on my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing, Nima, and for putting
Thank you.
also the voice of Indigenous women at the table. I think that's something very key that we do need to keep on our debate. Thank you very much. And with this, I would like to call on Jaswood. Jaswood, would you like to share your key takeaway from this space?
Yeah, of course. And I would like to bring here the words that Idai, who is the lead author, said when I was saying to her the question you asked us, Claudia, about if you were, I don't know, describing in one word what it was, all that experience. And I said that it was some kind of freeing, from the word of free, like freeing in ideation, freeing in developing starter kits and so on and so forth. So with that atmosphere in working without frameworks, working without any borders in our I don't know, ideation, the key insight, I would say that success in projects and in monitoring is not always measurable. It could be some kind of immeasurable results, and it could be some shifts in participants or project team worldview. It could be increased confidence of the teams and kind of long-term behavioral changes in that community where the project works. So, and that was kind of challenging side and challenging insight for me personally as a monitoring and evaluation consultant, going out of your comfort zone and trying to reflect what is going on in real context. And as one of our webinar participants said, it's very important to humanize our tools for monitoring and evaluation to gather the real data from the grounds again. Maybe that. Thank you very much for all this opportunity, and I would like to thank all our team, all awardees who were sharing experiences and inspiring each other to be here finally at this place. Yeah.
Thank you, Jaswil. Thank you very much for sharing. And we're 2 minutes more than the time we expected, but we are going to ask for 3 more closing remarks. For those of you that can stay with us, we'll be very thankful. So, Mahesh, would you please like to share your closing remarks?
Yes. So when I look across the 6 innovations that was presented today, a clear unifying thread that I could notice that we are collectively trying to reshape the narrative of what evaluation can and should look like. And I think this shift moves beyond technical improvement towards a deeper rethinking, and like a rethinking that embraces community ownership to its fullest sense, including epistemological dimensions. And in particular, I like Jasgul's presentation, I noticed that she has beautifully captured it, emphasizing on the collective sense making. And and most importantly, this is not an isolated effort. So I have seen this before when I joined the Gender and Equity Network South Asia as a core team member. I have learned from my peers on the power of collective thinking and co-creation. And what we are witnessing today is some like an expansion of the same ethos. So this is a key takeaway.
Thank you very much for sharing, Mahesh, and I'm super happy to hear your thoughts. Rai, would you like to share your key takeaway?
Thank you, Claudia. I think as we near the end of the webinar for sure, but also our journey with developing these products, there are just two words that come to mind. The first is transformation, and the second is gratitude. So, transformation, this project, as I've said before, has been absolutely transformative to me at a personal level. It's taught me so much about feminist evaluation in crisis. It's taught me more things about myself, about the power of wanting to change things. It's also taught me about how difficult or easy it is to perhaps implement transformation, whether it is at the organizational level, whether it is at the individual level, whether it is at the societal level. So transformation is something that I think we should all take away from this discussion, because at the end of this day, all of the 6 tools are about transforming the way we do the things we do. And all of us here are passionate about evaluations and evaluating. So let that be the sort of a mantra that we take away. Let's transform the way evaluations are conducted, and so that the people's voices come through in the evidence and the reports and the publications. That's really important. And the second word, 15 more seconds, is gratitude. Very, very grateful for this opportunity, very, very grateful to feminist evaluators across the world who've contributed to the toolkit and the synthesis, to teams across multilaterals who gave me the time to actually present to them and to refine the content. And to all of you here who are listening in from different parts of the world, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Such a pleasure to be here. So very, very grateful. So transformation and gratitude are the 2 words I'd like to end with. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing, Rai. And with this, I will pass the microphone to the GEI Acting Program Manager, Douglas Glandon. Douglas, we would love to hear, what do you think of this tools, and what are the key takeaways you are taking home from this space?
Sure. Thank you so much, Claudia, and congratulations to the presenters on those fantastic tools. So I think to respond to the question, I would echo what I heard others say. Key takeaway is that these tools are different provocations to push us to think critically about what evaluation is. We know that evaluation is value-laden, but when we think about it as just a set of criteria or tools or standard practices that people pull from their repertoire, choices about values get made without critical reflection. And what all the presenters have highlighted is the critical reflection about what gets valued, recognizing gender inequities, social justice issues as being critical to what we need to be thinking about when we do evaluation. And then secondly, getting to that epistemological question, what are the ways of knowing? Because the traditional ways of knowing that people typically use often leave some of these important values missing. I think that was a critical point that came out, and one of the motivations for these tools as helping us move forward. So I see the call to action from this is sort of it's both a challenge in that this is difficult. It requires people to do things differently, which is not easy. And there's inertia in the way that things are currently set up. But it's also an opportunity to help guide us all, reflecting on the values and the choices that we make each time we do an evaluation. I guess as one secondary takeaway is that there is no universal way of doing this, but there are common themes into how we can advance our understanding of being more reflective in our practice. And I think each of the tools here help us bridge the gap between that aspiration and the practice. So I just really, really appreciate all the excellent work that was done. And I agree, this is really pointing us toward a transformative vision to enhancing gender equality and social justice in the way that we do evaluation. So let's continue to amplify the message inspired by these young evaluators. I want to thank all of our partners for their continuous support to the project. We hope to continue our collaboration in the future. And lastly, the conversation does not end here. We saw a lot of interest in the tools. Please do share your experiences, your lessons, your feedback on the tools. And please do engage with this and other M&E topics through the Better Evaluation platform and during the Global Evaluation Week coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all. Thank you for following us. The recording and the registration of this session will be available soon online. You will find it on Better Evaluation on YouTube, and you should receive information on your inbox on that. So with that, I wish you all a good continuation of your day. Thank you to all presenters, and see you at the next webinar. Goodbye.